Hello everyone and welcome to Gierok Farms. In today's video we are going to be painting the dairy barn here. This project initially started already about a week ago. My dad, he was cleaning up the barn using pressurized air, blowing all the cobwebs off, and then he also was in here with the pressure washer. So we'll cut to some clips of that.
Farmer George is busy washing the barn, getting ready to paint. He loves being in his natural habitat out here. I think that was a sign I'm supposed to get back to work and help him. Looks like George has the whole barn washed down now. And it'll be ready for painting as soon as it dries off.
But now today we're doing the painting. We're putting some white paint on. To be more specific, it's a dairy gloss enamel for interior. It's a higher end paint that's designed to resist staining from manure or water or anything like that. It's a really good hardy paint. It says interior, but it's almost like an exterior paint with how hardy it is. And it's supposed to be scrubbable, so it's gonna stick really well to whatever you have. It's a really high-end, expensive paint that's marketed for dairy barns and dairy facilities. So before we get started, let us know if any of you have gone through the effort of painting your dairy or cattle facilities. Let us know what type of paint you use down below in the comments. We'd love to hear about it. But anyways, before we started painting here, we had to take everything down. We had a bunch of material by our radio, some signs out front, get all of our tools hanging on the wall off, and sweep up really well again after the cows got out of here. We let it dry a little too, so that we weren't working in such a sweated up, humid mess. And as you can see, we've probably made it already 2/3 of the way. So I decided it's time to pull out the camera and show you guys some of the progress here. Don't you just love how them posts turn out? It really brings out the light in the barn. Here's a really good comparison. Obviously you can tell where we got paint, and that's not even that thick of a coat. And then no paint. It is gonna make one heck of a difference having a new fresh coat of paint here, especially as we get closer and closer to winter. It really allows the light to carry in the barn and brighten things up even more. And from the cleanliness side of things, doing this, it gives us a chance to reset everything and give everything a really deep clean right before we paint. And then painting, we're sealing everything up again, prolonging the life of our wood. We started painting some of our new beams we put in. Personally, I think that will do more good than just the aesthetic side of it, is the longevity preserving our wood, preserving our barn, helping seal everything up, especially on each ends of the barn where it's gonna get more weathered. Super happy with how it's going so far. We have already gone through at least probably 6 pails of paint, and I think we only have three and a half cans of paint left. We should be able to finish all the outer walls, all the posts, and then we'll be able to do some of the ceilings, some of the beams, help seal all that up again. If you guys have watched all the videos, you know that Dad has got a new sprayer and it is working really well. He put the old spray gun from the old paint sprayer on this one. He likes it a lot better. It's a longer wand and he thinks it does better. It's definitely a hardier material, but the pump's doing well. The only real messing around we had to do was initially getting it primed, but after we had it primed, we were good to go. It is throwing this paint really well. And that too, being said, we're not trying to paint the Mona Lisa here. We're just trying to give everything a nice coat. So we're not too worried about overspray. As you can see on our cow mats, we're getting some, but there's enough dust and the cattle just walking back and forth on them. In probably less than a week, you won't even notice that overspray. But then around like our telephone and our radio and some of our other outlets and stuff, I've been going with a brush, kind of touching up some of that. We're gonna keep painting here. I'll get some clips of it, but I'm not gonna get you guys too close to the action. I don't want you guys to get the overspray. Gotta keep you guys nice and clean, you know. Hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll update you as we move along here. Time to crack open another can of paint. Doing the outer walls really eats up a lot of paint. It really takes a lot. But it'll look nice when it's done. So we just finished painting in the barn here. We've been cleaning up now, and I'd say it looks a heck of a lot brighter in here. It looks really, really nice. Painted all of the exterior walls, or the outer walls within the interior, and then all of the posts down the alleyway here. A little bit of the ceiling here and there. The window sills, the doors on both ends. A little bit there in the feed room, and then in the silo room on the other end. And then some of our corner out here we got as well, near our milk house, looking pretty sharp.
Couple spots in the milk house,
Yeah.
Trying to avoid spraying what we shouldn't.
Yeah, the overspray, we weren't too worried about it, but we
You
still
know, to
didn't
get it
want
on the windows and stuff. Milk house white, that's got to be like an oil base. It don't come off with water. You use paint thinner to get it off.
So Dad, he's done this a couple times now. You've done it, you've said probably, what, 3-4 times
I
you
think
painted?
it's the third time with the painting with the sprayer. We did a little bit by hand a few different times in between. We did the upper wall here maybe 10 years ago, or the lower wall, I mean. And the upper wall, it was a rock wall, so we had to wash that too and then patch it, and then we did that one. Because the whitewash, I mean, we did that years ago, but that stuff isn't, I don't think that's really all that good for your barn. You know, it's almost like painting like wet lime on. The thing is, when you wash, it washes off. So I pressure washed this whole barn down, what, about 5 or 6 days ago now.
Yep.
And really soaked it down and got everything out of all the crevices of the pipeline and then all them center poles and the whole thing. Really, it helps preserve everything. You get all that grime that's soaked in there.
That's what I was kind of saying. It's not only an aesthetic thing, it's a way to preserve that wood, especially stuff that might get a little water on it or see more of the elements on each end of the barn.
So next summer, you know, we could just wash it again and it comes out looking pretty white. And after 5 or 6 years, you got to start going over things again, especially like the doors and places where it likes to condensate. As much as this barn's been used, I mean, it's got to be approaching 100 years.
That whitewash, from what I've heard, that used to be a heck of a business. I know a lot of older guys that said they kind of did that as a part-time gig, or
yeah, it seemed like they'd have their good truck, and then they'd have this whitewash truck that they would get together with another guy or two, and one guy would be doing the blowing, then the other guy would start in with the whitewashing, and in about 2 hours they'd have her, depending on the barn. And they usually charge you by the foot, how long your barn was. Might vary a little bit in how dirty everything was when they started. But yeah, that, because it was a lot, you had to whitewash, or I don't know, I suppose the paint back then would have been probably a ridiculous thing to paint the whole thing. If you could start new and initially do that, maybe that would be the best way.
And then speaking of painting, you've done the exterior of the barn how many times now over the years?
I believe 3. 98 and then 05 we had a dairy breakfast. We did it before then, and it had to be maybe later 18, I'm thinking. 7 pails. 5 goes all the way around, and then usually want to go another coat. You kind of touch up around again with 2 pails. So it gets to be quite the chore climbing it.
Yeah, you didn't have a scissor lift or anything.
And we used the hay conveyor in a few spots. I know other guys do that stuff. We'd have it hooked to the tractor, and you'd brace it up against the barn, and that worked pretty good. And then I got this long wand. It came with a short one, but I think that's a 3 feet extension, so that helps a lot. You can really reach into stuff. You know, we could put tin on, and then you kind of ruin all your ventilation, your original look. I mean, sometimes I think you cover up the wood, it almost makes the wood more, it doesn't keep it kind of.
Yeah, it doesn't air out.
Yeah. So we got a few things to put back up. We got to put our signage back on and hang up some of our flies here.
Yep, I'd say it was a pretty decent project that I've done today. It was good to have that all the way. It's going to be a nice drying day. Should get fairly dried up before the cows come in, and
they'll scoop their hay up at it, and but it doesn't. For what it is, it's usually stays pretty good.
Those of you that have ever painted a barn like this, any kind of cattle thing, let us know what type of paint you used. I did show them the label of what we used for this today, but I'd be interested to hear if there's like a really common paint that people like using for projects like this.
Yeah, like I said, if we could have started, like in the fresh wood before the whitewash even went on, and then that wood would soak up that high-end paint, I think that would have
made a real difference.
Yeah, so a lot of years now with that COVID times, we had trouble finding this paint. We were going to do this last year, we couldn't find any paint. Or we did find paint, but it wasn't really the right stuff, and so we had to touch up a few areas, and I gotta say, it's not even a year, 6 months it was all peeling off. It just wasn't for this.
Yeah. So let's be good. Happy we got this done. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to leave plenty of comments down below, and stay tuned for more videos.